Hello everyone and welcome to another Throne and Liberty video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new to the channel, but if you're a part of this incredible 75,061 of y'all who've hit that subscribe button, welcome in and welcome back. That's what you get for subscribing, by the way. Additional greetings at the start of these videos. Now this video is your questions and the answers that have been provided to me. Many people have reached out, and awesomely one person sat down and they gave me so much detail. We're going to protect DMs as I always do, but hopefully you find this information to be useful and good and valuable, because there's a lot to be excited about with Throne and Liberty. There's a lot to be excited about if any MMO RPG launch, but I'm always going to caution you to try and temper those expectations, because I find that generally speaking, when it's all said and done, once the hype wears off, expectations ends up hurting your view of the game, where if you had a little bit of lower expectations, you might have enjoyed it overall. But that's not to set up the expectations for this video. Hopefully they're high and hopefully I deliver on them. Now, as we get ready to dive in, I have one favor to ask if you guys can help me out. The top link in the description is my Instagram challenge. My fellow comedians, Instagram is a huge aspect of comedy, and as a stand-up comedian, they've challenged me to grow to over 1,000. Y'all are pushing me very close to 200 right now, so thank you for all who've accepted the challenge so far. But at the end of the day, I'm going to keep asking, and hopefully you guys, if you use Instagram, you don't mind hitting that follow button over there. But let's dive into the video. That's why you clicked on it. Let's get it started. Just Evil writes, I want to know what the gameplay feels like. It looks very Final Fantasy 16-ish. And the answer is, I haven't played Final Fantasy 16, so I will try based off the video and therefore the gameplay. The gameplay is very fluid. For this tech test, auto battle was completely removed, along with the auto battle use abilities, which is where you can set your abilities to automatically go off, but you're not necessarily going or doing auto battle. One thing that I really like is that you cannot just aggro a bunch of mobs and kill it all at once. You will die. And to jump in here on just their answer, I think this is going to be something interesting to see what happens with enough time. We've seen in MMOs as they exist right now is the ease of access, the lack of like a real challenge. And I think that in the long term hurts the game, but in the short term it helps the game, because players can get in, they're not going to feel overwhelmed, they're not going to get just destroyed and lose heart and then go play something else. But what we've seen within the genre in and of itself, the lack of challenge and the lack of any kind of like real investment ends up, having that effect on kind of your dopamine over the long run. But this is a bigger problem within the gaming and the MMO space specifically. It's one thing that's constantly always debated, like are MMOs dying? But it's exciting to see also that we're seeing so many new MMOs start to step in and fill in that gap, all baked around different business models. But anyway, that's just kind of my aside. Let's jump back in to what they had to say. So they continue, I played a mage with the staff and the wand, and it was so fluid. You can move while auto-attacking and move during some abilities, but some abilities will still root you in place. When fighting in PvP, one thing I love is the healing. It's not OP. OP, for anybody who doesn't know, overpowered. If anything, it might be a little underpowered in a good way. This is just my opinion in this case, but for instance, when playing New World, if you have a pocket healer or a tank, on a tank, you can literally have 3 DPS destroying him and he won't die with Divine Embrace and refreshing Divine Embrace. And in a Throne of Liberty, it seems that healing will do just enough or a little more for you to win the fight, but then you will still have to retreat and fully heal up and get back into the battle. So maybe from a visual perspective, it seems similar. I would say that it isn't as fast, like you can fast dash from an enemy to enemy, where in Throne of Liberty, it's just as fluid, maybe even more so in that way. It was very rapid. I will say that being able to move while doing attacks doesn't change much. All projectiles are lock-on, so no matter where you are and move, it will hit. However, very few projectiles that do not lock on and that you can dodge. And when fighting melee mobs as a mage, I could cheese them from walking backwards and auto-attacking and using non-rooted abilities. A lot of the challenges are fun. There are events in which that you have to collect items and mobs drop the wolf tails. And those are non-PvP and PvP in PvP. That phrase sounds interesting. You will see many wolf tails someone has, and if you want to take a chance, you can go after it and kill and steal their wolf tails and turn them into the NPC to get credit. Now, I'm curious to see ultimately how this shakes out. I'm somebody who likes, and I think PvP is a very important aspect to the MMORPG, something that I personally enjoy. I say that, and I will get 1,000 comments from players who are like, no PvP, this sounds stressful, and I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're wrong because I can totally see their perspective. It's not fun all the time. And the question is that, what is an MMO? And that would be a good question for you guys. Like, do you feel PvP is an integral part, or do you feel it should be something as side content, or do you think it should be something non-existent? And the good news about all that is there's plenty of options that give players that choice. So whether you're non-PvP, like, you can play Blue Protocol. If you like PvP, I think New World or Throne of Liberty is going to be interesting to see how these two slot in together. So they continue. Overall, combat feels super fluid. This was in the Korean test, but one thing I love is that I can put an ability from any alternate weapon into my primary weapon tree and vice versa, so that when I use all of my weapon abilities and they're on cooldown, I just press the alternate weapon ability and it uses it, automatically switching the weapon, which is awesome. All in caps in this case. I think of New World, Fire Staff, and Ice Gauntlet. Now you have 3 abilities and it lets you have 4 ability buttons, excluding the Heart Rune, but you can use all your Fire Staff abilities instead of changing weapons and using an ability. You just hit your 4th ability button, which would be Ice Storm, and it uses it automatically and switches your weapon for you. I think that's actually a really cool feature to see them do, and honestly, I wouldn't mind New World doing that. I'm just gonna have to wait and see what they do. New World does on the controller support side, because the good news is Throne of Liberty supports it right out the gate. But continuing on, PvE bosses are awesome as well, and it does require teamwork, and a lot of PvE bosses in the open world are set for PvP as well. Not all, but I would say most. So you have guilds teaming up and partying up to kill the other players as well as kill the boss. And in the dungeons, they are very fluid and amazing. And for the tech test, you can only go 2 levels deep. Dungeons are open world and awesome. I'm so glad to see dungeons make a return to the open world. It's one of the things I feel is missing in kind of modern MMOs, and there's pros and cons. The con I always hear people is like, well, you're just gonna have people zerging it and rushing it. That's fun. Like, it's fun, and it is also always going to be different, because you might have a group of 4 people, or you might have a group of 30 people, and that would change your strategy, and that does change how people interact with the open world. I think seeing that happen is something very unique and beautiful to the MMO. Now, that's not to say that instant content isn't without its strengths, because you can design bosses, you can design mechanics, and you can understand from a game development perspective how to address and how to approach the fight with different mechanics that maybe a certain class needs to respond to, or a player has to address, where whenever it gets to be 30, 40, 60, players, it's just chaos for chaos sake. And so I think having a return to this is a really good thing. I'm excited to see how it feels in the long run, and if players are excited to see something like this from a technological perspective, time will tell. And then going to talk about the sieges, they were badass. So the big castle siege with the golems right as you transform into. You can choose the sides of the defending guild or just the attacking with a bunch of other guilds to claim the throne. But get this, as a defending guild, and your allies can sneak grab the throne so they have it. But at any time, they can break the alliance and kill the defending guild and take the castle. So this is, I think, going to be a very drama-filled experience for a lot of players. I really hope that it's successful. I cannot wait to go hands-on with it myself, but we will see. More updates and news will be coming soon. So if you guys like Throne of Liberty content, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as you're definitely welcome here. We cover all kinds of games here, so just note that it's not just Throne of Liberty, but it's a big part of what I'm looking forward to in 2024. All right, the next question was, this game have a main city, have open trade, full manual, super pay to win, question marks? You have a main city to start after the tutorial, but it seems like the main city changes based off your level. You have your first main city, and then another one you travel to from 10 to 20, and another one from 20 to 30. But you have a main city or a main castle city in which all sieges will take place, and you will own southeast from the main starter city. This seems to be the main city for the guild who has ownership, and the main castle and the city itself is where the sieges take place and the golem transformations for the battles that happen. I have no clue about pay to win though. It was just a tech test, didn't see any pay shop, although they did show a season pass which you could buy with a premium currency similar to Rocket League, Apex Legends, and New World. Now personally, any battle pass, I really want them to take the Halo model. If you guys haven't been following Halo, Season 4, Season 5, I think are spectacular. The nice thing about Halo is you buy the battle pass, you keep the battle pass. It doesn't disappear on you. There's no artificial FOMO. And one of the things I think games need to start stepping away from is that artificialness of you have to play and compete the battle pass, as opposed to the MMOs. Same thing, I would like to see this change in New World. Just let us play. Just let us relax. You know, like I'm going to work on and actually what I find is, especially like in Halo, I grind it much harder knowing there isn't any FOMO, knowing that I can step away and come back and complete this on my own time. So it doesn't feel like it's something that's pulling away me from my life. So I'm perfectly fine with the seasonal pass model. I just really hope that they look at a Wayfinder or a Halo as inspiration to the battle pass itself. Anyway, let's go on. Regarding trading, I didn't experience. However, when you do guild activities, it goes into a guild bank and you can request anything that is in the bank from the guild leaders and that they can give you it or not. Now, I don't know what you mean by full manual, but if you mean auto battle, it was completely taken out, and putting your abilities into auto use from the Korean beta was completely taken out as well. Now, going into our third question from Exxon, says, any word on professions, player trading, or the auction house? And they say, I have no experience on professions. As for gathering herbs and trees, you can just do it. There is no leveling system like in New World for it though. You can just gather stuff and you can just craft it. You don't have to craft or make tools or anything. You just have them. Player to player trading and auction houses, or for a player driven marketplace, I would assume will exist, but in all honesty, it's just pure speculation, as I did not experience any of that. And into our final question from Kuzlov, what have you heard about the fluidity of the gameplay movement? Not really the combat, but just the character movement, like the character or the camera angle and moving, plus the transformations into and out of the mount system. It just seemed off to me. And so he goes on to say, so movement is really customizable. I don't know the Korean beta there was use your mouse to point and click option or moved with WASD. The one thing I didn't like about it was the order to use my mouse was the turning. Now, if I want to turn left, I move the camera with my mouse to do that. It would have to hold onto the right mouse button just to do that. Otherwise, I would still go forward and the camera would just spin while you are going into the same direction. So the mount transformation system works like Black Desert Online's sprinting system in a way. So Black Desert Online, if you don't have a mount, you can sprint, and it uses your stamina bar. Once it runs out, you will have to go into the basic run. Now, transformations work the same. Like you transform into a hawk as you glide, but the transformation bar starts to deplete. Now you can technically go up by flapping your wings to get higher, but it uses a decent chunk of your transformation bar to do so. Jumping off a very high place and gliding will get you way further than jumping off a place and trying to flap your wings to get higher. But overall, for the camera angle, from what I remember, is completely customizable. I believe I remember playing with the height of the camera and of course the zoom. And by the height, I don't mean zooming out. I mean moving to the center of the camera, the y-axis, to go up and down. It would be misremembering this, but I vividly remember this cause the other MMOs like New World doesn't have this feature, and I thought it would be really cool. Oh, and the UI, completely customizable. You could move your ability bar on the top and make smaller or bigger, delete some things, and add some things to move them wherever you like on the screen. And this is where I want to kind of bring it to a kind of a final thought. So thank you guys so much for the questions. Thank you, community, for the answers in this case. But one of the things I always want to say, like, the game's in development. And an MMO doesn't just exist in the way that it launches. This is something that, like, if there is a feature or something that is lacking or that you feel like needs more work, that's important for your feedback. And one of the things that I get a lot of confidence from Amazon, from the developers within Amazon Games, like, they are listening and they want to make the best games possible. And that's something I think very exciting to see. And honestly, I'm always going to be rooting for them, wishing them the most luck whenever possible. And that's one of the things, like, when it comes down to why continue to make MMOs, especially when, like, from an investment perspective and a risk perspective, they are the most risky, most costly forms of a genre, and a genre that, like, honestly hasn't really done anything new and has kind of been set in its place by World of Warcraft and the theme park model, which has its strengths and its weaknesses. So it's exciting to me to see that Amazon, with New World, with Lost Ark, with Throne of Liberty, with Blue Protocol, with other things that still have yet to be unannounced, are making a push into this model, into this genre. And I think that's a good thing. I think overall more investment into the genre is a good thing. The question ends up being is that, you know, what do you guys want? Like, are we going to show up for it or not? So it's those are just my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for hanging out for this video. If you feel like it earns it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let's get us to 100,000. Like, I think 25,000 is, it's not going to happen this year, but it's going to be something that happens. And again, if you guys don't mind supporting the Instagram challenge, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, but until then, take care.